Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. My name is David Owen. I'm the editor of the two upcoming anthologies for the Playwrights Canada Press. The collection of 6 plays, Long Live the New Flesh, 6 plays from the digital frontier, of which one of our contributors is here today, Freya Olafson, the author of and performer of Avatar. I'm going to introduce her in a moment, give a little bit of a bio for her. We'll do a short interview, and then she'll read a section of her play for us. So the anthologies came about by doing research for my own dissertation on digital performance, and I realized what a rich community we were growing here across the country, in the major centers, across the prairies, and the rich work that we were having was falling into niches that other anthologies hadn't covered before. And I was seeing international work coming up and being recognized and being written on. And so when I pitched the anthology to the Playwrights Canada Press, there was no hesitation to go, and that's a great idea. Let's do 2 anthologies together. So there's an accompanying digital essay anthology on digital performance as well, that I encourage you all to have a look at. They kind of go hand in hand, the theory and the practice. So with that introduction, let me introduce you to Freya Olafson. Freya Olafson is an intermedia artist who works with video, audio, animation, motion capture, XR, painting, and performance. Their praxis engages with identity and the body as informed by technology and the internet. Olafson's work has been exhibited and performed internationally at the Bauhaus Archive, Berlin, SECA, Southeastern Center for Contemporary Art, North Carolina, Ludwig Museum, Budapest, and the National Arts Center, Ottawa. Olafson has benefited from residencies, most notably through M.F.A, Experimental Media and Performing Arts Center, New York, Oboro, Montreal, and Counterpulse, San Francisco. She holds an M.F.A in New Media from the Trans Art Institute, Donau Universitat, and joined the Department of Dance at York University as an assistant professor in July 2017. Upcoming in July 2021, they begin a position in digital media at the School of Art, University of Manitoba, and this past spring, Olafson was one of the 2020 Sobey Art Award recipients. Thank you, Freya, for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the introduction and for having me here as a guest. Here, no wait, where am I? Here is here.
I want a green screen floor like yours. That's so fun. But speaking of green screens and projections and stuff, let's talk about your play, Avatar. It premiered in 2009. What was the inspiration for the play?
Yeah, so I researched and developed the piece, I guess, kind of starting in 2007. And I wanted to make a piece with live video feed. And so at that point, my best way to work with that was using my web camera. And when I started working with the web camera, all of a sudden I was like moving my laptop and performing with my laptop to prototype ideas. And I realized I was kind of on to thinking about how we see ourselves through the web camera and the computer as a tool to archive existence. And at that time, I was looking also a lot at sort of the emergence of vlogging culture, which YouTube, I think, was established in like 2005. So I was looking at how people were using it to document their lives, share parts of their life. And also at that point, I think, the photo booth app that Mac computers had, people were also using that as like a year of me and my Mac, like a computer, like a series of a slideshow of all the photos of them in front of the computer, which was basically kind of before we were able to take selfies as easy with our cell phones. We used the computer perhaps as it was an early selfie device. Not that early. There's other ones before that, but
Cool. Well, let me ask you now, you mentioned performing with your laptop or to your laptop. your perception now in 2021, in the current situation, looking back on the play, has the play changed, or your perception of the act of performing to a laptop?
Um, yeah, certainly some, I think some aspects as I've been, because this piece wasn't originally down on paper in any kind of way. So I've been kind of doing like, a reverse process. uh, and I think the last time I performed it was in 2015. So I'm also been thinking through and making some changes to the text as it appears on page. Um, uh, and performing with laptop, yeah, I mean, I get like from that original work, I did some iterations of small tests of sections of that work online. Used to um, use face filters on ustream.tv. And so I did an excerpt of Avatar on Chat Roulette in 2010. So kind of like, so the notion of performing with a laptop is, yeah, prevalent more in a different kind of way now. Although I haven't really done any performances for laptop in this last since the pandemic began. But prior to that, I had been. So it's kind of interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are a very active performer creator. Did you want to tell us about some of your recent work?
Yeah, sure. So the most recent large piece that I premiered was in 2019 at the tail end at Prairie Theatre Exchange, and the work was called Motion After Effect. And in that work, I was looking at, I guess they use the umbrella term of XR, so VR, AR, motion capture, sort of these related tools under the umbrella of reality, extended reality. And so I was looking at how those tools are consumer available and in what ways people are using them or exploring them in their home. And that piece was built off monologues, not unlike not unlike Avatar, where I searched for texts online where people, in this case, they were describing what they were experiencing in VR.
Mhm.
And then parallel to the texts of people describing what they were seeing or experiencing in VR, I found some texts about out of body experiences or metaphysical explorations or psychedelic drug trips. And I'd substitute the word mushroom for VR. And so I was thinking about different technologies in a way that analog and digital that people would use to sort of shift their experience of reality and space, their own physical presence, and the sense of nowness. Um, yeah, so that's Motion After Effect, and that's the green screen floors from that piece. And so since I premiered it there in the fall, I've been researching and exploring other ways to share the work through digital means. So I think I'll be exploring and sharing some of those things in the coming like summer into next fall, this coming fall,
Excellent.
which will come soon enough.
Well, when we work on volume two, well, I'm sure I will be in contact with you again. Um, the conference organizers, they have a couple of things that they would like us to touch on.
Sure.
The conference, the topic for this conference is crisis and recovery. And you were talking about creating in now, and we mentioned the pandemic in passing a couple times. Crisis and recovery. What does that mean to you in the sense of creating art and the message to get across to an audience?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like if I think about crisis with respect to the work that I've um, made, or like what's that point of tension that propels you to make work, which might not always be, maybe it's the brink of crisis, but maybe it isn't full
Mhm.
crisis. That is a word that has much bigger ramifications than in this case I'm thinking about towards the personal. But yeah, I guess many of my works have been about identity. And moved into identity in relationship to technology, and that sort of that tension of the space of relating with those tools, and sort of what is emergent in that, which are not necessarily they kind of rupture, and they posit something that is like uncomfortable, whether it's towards the uncanny sometimes, depending upon the imagery, and there's a discomfort, and something to solve or to investigate or to explore. So crisis, and what was the other word again?
Recovery.
Crisis, recovery.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and a good old contemporary dancers always fall on recovery. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I have to think on that one a little bit. Well, I guess okay, I've thought on it now. For me, and I think when working with the digital, um, I've always kind of sought to find kind of a feedback loop. So I'm thinking about that as recovery. There's like a call and response, or there's
Mhm.
a cycling of process. And in this case, sometimes it's data or information or your own image returned to you. Um, yeah. So I pause. I offer that.
Well, picking that up actually makes me return to Avatar, because it does start with a young person who's grappling with issues of image,
Mm-hmm.
um, comes up with a strategy. I don't want to give too much away, but then the feedback loop at the end with the Q&A,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's quite poetic, and ties into what you were just saying, actually. So.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me taking the liberty of making that connection. But
No, definitely. I feel that. And that's some of the section that I will share later in the reading.
excellent. Uh, so the I have a couple other questions here. They were asking the conference organizers. They were curious to know how your experience has been during COVID as an artist. What changes have you had to make? What discoveries? What avenues have you been pushed into?
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's been a little quiet in terms of creative practice and or dissemination of creative practice, other than the media arts festivals that screen my video works. Many of those very quickly found ways to share their work digital and adapt their programming. And it's funny because I premiered that work, the newest work, Motion After Effect, like November 2019. And I had some discussions about the possibility of sharing it in the next year. And then pandemic arrived in March, and the conversation kind of went quiet. I didn't push any of them, even though I could go, I know of ways I could pivot this work to the digital, to live stream, but it didn't feel like, um, I guess I wasn't rushing with that piece to go from having made it about the virtual, but in the theater space to, I think I needed time to think about it, how to do it well, bringing it to to the actual internet as a context. So I think I've been just finding a plethora of opportunities to take free workshops that were previously not available to me. So I've kind of been gathering new technical tools and exploring sort of acquiring knowledge and then waiting to see how and if and when any of it will be deployed. Yeah, and then I guess I teach, and there's definitely been a number of adaptations to that setting, but because I've been working with movement on for screen and for cameras, in lots of ways, it felt like a comfortable shift. Comfortable, not entirely, but one that I have curiosity enough about that I felt I was able to kind of share that enthusiasm with course participants.
Right, right. Excellent, thank you. One more question. We'll return to Avatar, and then we'll move into the reading, if that's okay.
Mhm.
When people uh, see the piece, or hopefully when they imagine the piece when they read your script, and thank you for grappling with the challenge of putting it onto paper. But what do you hope people take away from it?
Mm. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I feel like when I made the work to where we are now with social engagement with technology, I think it's a much more talked about, and or individually we're more aware of sort of being at the beck and call of so much of the apps, basically, you know, that prompt you and or set in the internal desire to refresh that page. Yeah, because I think, you know, I think just prior to making the piece, like I was on MySpace, and I think I had just gotten a Facebook account before, really, maybe 2 years before making this piece. So yeah, a lot has shifted and changed, and I feel like the conversation of how we relate to self and representation of self online is more sophisticated than it was, but there still is this kind of that aspect of maybe I think Ashley Migel's in his essay speaks to it, sort of the some aspect of celebrity or sort of persona creation, right? That's yeah. So I guess in some ways, maybe I think it might be interesting to because the processes I'm going through is thinking back, like where were we then and where are we now? And while YouTube is still very popular, the vlogging format, some of the ones that I were emerging at the time I made that piece are still also very not template, but they're very popular as well. It's like it's got a space hold on us.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it was your play was one of the first that really tackled it head on. That idea of online curated lifestyle and image, um, and so it's really interesting reading the script now, and how um, it's rare to find somebody who doesn't have an online persona that they keep updating day to day, right? That
Yes.
that pressure is really different now than it was 10 years ago. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Cool. Well, let us segue into the reading, unless there's something else you want to say before we get there.
Um, I guess also the other thing that comes to mind for me, because as I've been translating it from a work that's like very intertwined from the sonic, visual, and physical performance
Mhm.
sides all coming together, is a real curiosity for the reader, like how I hope that it sparks an imagination for them that they can kind of uh, um, that a sight or place or sense of the work emerges through some of its descriptive language, and then of course there's the narrative that sort of moves through it. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I think that was the last thing I had to say.
All right. Well, the floor is yours for
Okay,
the reading.
it'll take me a little second. Okay.
Hi everyone. I've been gone because of personal things. I got a new room. It's You can't see it, but maybe one day I'll show you. It's awesome now. Oh yeah, I got a new computer. It's also awesome. I was sick and then I got over it. By the way, this is the new computer I'm recording with. Oops. I wasn't sure if it's still recording. Can you see me? Can you see me? I hope you can see me. I was looking at one of my old vlogs. Holy crap. There's a reason I put it on private. I was talking like this, and I wasn't even looking at the camera. But geez, I sounded so boring. It was like 2.5 minutes long. I could barely sit through 30 seconds of it. I was like, oh, ugly. But other than that, the video quality was horrible, and yeah, so everyone tell me what you think. And to all those who have stuck with me from vlog day number 1, I want to say thank you. to all of those subscribers. I have such wonderful subbies. I love you all so much. I love talking to you. I've gotten to know so many people. I feel I'm making such awesome friends from everywhere. Now, I don't have very many friends here, but one of them I'm happy to announce just gave birth to twin girls. Linda, if you're watching this, congratulations. Congratulations so much. I'm so happy for you and your new babies, happy and healthy. Congratulations to your family. Again, thank you to all of my subscribers. I'm happy to announce I'm at 998, almost at 1,000. When I hit that mark, we're going to do a contest. Oh yeah, there was one message I don't want to describe. I just want to say thank you. I was very flattered. Stupid screen. It went off again. Can you see me? I hope you can see me. It would be a shame if this wasn't working. We got some good stuff here. Anyways, moving on, I have some little notes here. About the Marilyn video, I'm not obsessed. I often Google her. My grandmother would always talk about her. They had the blonde hair with the curl, you know, the Marilyn look. Anyways, I'm not obsessed. But in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if I look different whatsoever, I'm not ashamed to say it, I'm going for some Botox. I used to do this, so if I look any different, don't give me any lectures about it. I'm getting tired of trying to arch my brows, and I hate these wrinkles that my dad gave me. And well, if it makes me feel better, then I say go for it. Wait, can you see me? Can you see me? Now's the time where I'd like to ask you to ask me a question. Popular questions I often get asked are things like, how do you get your lips so red? Actually, I steal a little trick from Marilyn. I use a lip plumper to enhance the natural pigment of the lips, and then I use Rouge 26 from L'Oreal till it goes into your eyes. But enough about the popular questions. I want to know what you want to know. Now, don't be shy. I'm an open book. I'm an unlocked vault. I'm essentially transparent for you tonight.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant.
It was fun. I'm gonna put my voice back as it is. Give me a second.
Shouldn't take too long. Okay. Great. It's fun.
That was super fun. Thank you so much, Freya, for joining us and talking about your play and entertaining my questions.
I opened up the old computer that has this show on, and it wasn't as easy to put it all together, but really kind of fun to also play with. Now augmented reality filters are so much, they're around, they're easy. So instead of actually hand painting the eyes that I do in the show, it was fun to come with a digital version. So thank you.
I admire how you adapted it to the smaller screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Freya. It was a pleasure actually getting to speak one-on-one with you, and I really look forward to seeing people's reaction to the plays, yours included, in the anthology coming up.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure. Very excited to see and encounter the other people's work in this anthology. So.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm excited.
No, it's a gift to be included. Also, you know, that my practice initially coming from dance and then into media, and but certainly, you know, being in a hybrid space, sometimes it's really a wonderful invitation to be included in a anthology of works. Coming from a hybrid space where sometimes it's like, where do I fit? It's really wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.